This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts and the guests. Please do your own research or consult a professional before making investment decisions.
Welcome to another episode of Unblocking the Chain. My name is Michael Prendiville and I am your co-host for today. I'm joined by Australia's busiest man, the chair of Jelly C and CEO of Macropod, Drew Bradford. Welcome, Drew. Good to see you.
Great to be here, Crits, as usual.
Lots going on, mate. Lots going on.
Certainly is.
Wiping the sweat off your brow. A little bit like DECA coming off the long run. Very good. Okay, today we're honoured to have one of the personalities of our sector. She's the CEO of the Digital Economy Council of Australia, also known as DECA, formerly Blockchain Australia. Amy-Rose Goodey. Amy-Rose, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, boys. It's about time. Started to feel a little bit of FOMO for a while there.
She got my apologies.
Amy-Rose, let's start with your career. Just a little bit of background. You graduated from CQ University and then completed a postgrad in education from the Queensland University of Technology. Very, very good. In August 2019, you started your journey with the Digital Economy of Australia as a membership manager. You then worked your way up the ladder. Hard work, lots of toil. Holding positions such as head of operations and the COO. In June 2024, you then went on to be appointed as the CEO of DECA, come in spinner. And so now that you're the head honcho, can you run us through your journey at DECA? Because it really has seen a transition, and where we see it right now is operating on all 12 cylinders.
Yeah, I think the 7 years that I had been in the background building equipped me pretty well to lead the association and move it through the rebrand. It's never an overnight success. You guys know this very well. It takes a decade of work to get to this point. So credit goes to the industry. That's where the blood, sweat and tears comes from. So there's been hundreds of members over the past decade who have contributed every single day to consultations and law reform process. And it's my role at the association is to corral and bring people together and build the machine. But essentially there's no machine if there's no wheels, and that's what the members are. And it is full steam ahead from the members. And so I'm here for the ride just as well as everyone else is.
I'm sure, Amy-Rose, there must have been, we're sort of coming up to a pretty big change in the industry. Those first couple of years must have been pretty, a bit, where are we going? What are we trying to do? Versus now that this seems to be so much more focused.
Yeah, there used to be a very grassroots focus. Back when I started, there was a lot of startups. And there was a lot of grind, actually. It was an atmosphere of building. We don't have a lot of startups in Australia anymore. That's a reflection of the regulatory landscape. It's really hard to build when you don't have the framework there to guide you. So the industry itself has evolved, and we've had a lot of mature sectors coming into the market, which also called for maturation of our industry. And you could probably speak to that as well, Drew, but there's an evolution that has taken place. And it's actually, even though it's been 10 years, it's taken place really fast in comparison to other sectors. And we've been screaming from the rooftop that we need the reform. And it's not until you take a step back and you talk to other sectors who you're competing against for the prioritization from government, because there's other sectors who need law reform as well. The financial advisors and even the mining industry. Everyone is calling for the government housing as well. There's a lot of priorities, and so it's changed in the way that we've just moved through. We're adults now, like you said, Drew, at the blockies, and it's just a normal life cycle of the evolution of an industry. And I know it sounds cliche, everyone says it in the industry, but it's just like the internet. And I worked in the internet. I was part of IONET back when it was ADSL, and I saw it move through VoIP and and the consolidation of different ISPs. And I'm just seeing a very similar evolution here. I've lived it, and it's sort of rinse and repeat.
Run us through the rebrand from Blockchain Australia to DECA, or the Digital Economy Council of Australia. Clearly, there's a broader mandate. So, yeah, just give us a bit of context for the listeners out there on, why that was changed.
We saw diversity in membership. It changed over time. Like I said, we had some blockchain and digital asset startups at the very beginning, but over the past 3 or 4 years, we saw the industry and our membership base change. So we've got compliance, digital ID, AI, cybersecurity. We've obviously got our digital assets, but we've also seen the digital asset ecosystem change. We saw NFTs, we've got stable coins, we've got tokenization, professional services, and banking and payments. So the association itself had to change with our membership base. If that explains that point, we had to follow our members. And also, sometimes we had members who were asking, I don't quite see where I fit because it's very digital asset heavy. And while we intersect with digital assets and crypto and blockchain, we do other things as well. And so we just had to move with the times.
So tell us how your role as CEO has changed as a result of that.
My role has always been quite similar. The title has obviously changed, but from the moment that I started working at Blockchain Australia, I have been building the systems and the structure that form the association and the business and the way that it works. And because I have been embedded in the membership base since day one, it allowed me to see quite clearly how the association worked and how the industry worked. So taking the leadership role has allowed me to support members at our full capacity, with all of that history behind me and all of that understanding and all of those relationships across, multiple different aspects and corners of the industry. And that is, with government relationships and the members and also other industry associations and the relationships built overseas as well. So it's essentially, I see my role has always been the same, I'm sorry to say. Not exciting.
What's your biggest challenge other than dealing with people like Critter and myself? What is the biggest challenge of the role?
The biggest challenge is meeting the needs of that diverse membership base, because while we have conversations around digital assets and tokenization, we also have blockchain-enabled digital ID platforms who are coming in and really wanting attention on that subject matter. We also have, AI and blockchain intersecting. We've got trade digitalization and the import and export sector who are, digitalizing and implementing blockchain technology. So the hardest part, I think, is staying across all of that detail.
Sorry to say this to you, Amy-Rose, it's only going to get harder. I think next year, as we go into the regulation, and you're going to have more and more people that, more and more stakeholders are going to need DECA. So I think 2026 is going to be tougher than 2025.
Yeah, it's also going to be a little bit more fruitful as well. You always get every year, because it's got
100%.
bigger and bigger every year, but also at the same time, it's like a current. And everyone, I know it sounds airy-fairy, Drew, but everyone is on this ride. So you and I, we're all going together. And so I call you, Drew. I'm like, Drew, I need your help with this thing. And everyone is a phone call away. It's not just me running this ship. Every single person is a phone call away and everyone is contributing. There's no way this is an Amy-Rose show. The more momentum we get, the more people jump on board and the more people want to contribute and put their name to this beast.
Yeah. I think next year you'll find that the conga lines are going to get longer as we're dancing around, whether it's to Canberra and back or whatever, but there'll be more and more people joining the conga line.
There is, and I have considered a move to Canberra.
Wow. That's taking one for the team, though, if you have to move to Canberra.
How have you managed to, herd the cats, Amy-Rose? How have you managed to, corral them into, I guess the space that you want them to be in and to push your agenda or DECA's agenda?
There's been a different approach over the past 12 months, actually, since taking the role in 2024, when I had Andrew Charlton in his very, very early days open up Blockchain Week 2024. And it has been about building relationships, really strong relationships with, I don't know how to say this any better, but people who are going to be very important people when push comes to shove and when it's crunch time. And so it has been about heading to Canberra, building relationships across Treasury and ASIC and AUSTRAC and more recently the ATO. And previously, it was a very different approach from industry. This is what I had experienced. There was frustration, and that was translated to the different government departments and the different politicians as being aggressive. And there was apprehension around engaging. And so there had to be a different approach, and the industry needed to go into rooms in a really mature way. And so it has been more about just building those networks in Canberra and meeting as often as possible. And it's about trust as well. It's a very Australian element. It's trust.
It seems to me we're getting a good, the industry's getting a good response from Canberra would be an observation versus 12 months ago or 18 months ago. There was a bit of, especially 18 months ago, I don't care, was the vibe I used to get from Canberra. There were a few individuals on either side that did care, but the majority of Canberra didn't. We seem to, as an industry, appear to have a lot more momentum now.
We do. And there were DECA members who came together as a group, and DECA was in those rooms. And we provided the government with information and guidance that they had never had before. So up until recently, the impact or the economic impact or the benefit that our industry brings to Australia wasn't recognised. That was that escalated when Trump started his crypto advocacy, his pro crypto campaigning, and that Australia looks to the US often. And if you're in our industry, then you know that we paid attention. We paid attention, especially during our election cycle. So that momentum contributed. The members coming together. We're in Canberra with politicians also contributed to the success of what we're seeing now. And that's Andrew Charlton and Simon Ken.
Yeah. Oh, they've been, both of those guys have been very good friends to the industry. Hey, we saw in the election in the US that Stand with Crypto had a big influence, or appears to have had a big influence. Much less so in Australia, because politics here doesn't quite work like the way they do. But do you think that organisations like Stand with Crypto have had an influence at all here?
I think that the Stand with Crypto presence here is really important because they are also in every room alongside us, and they bring with them the knowledge that they have from the US. I don't think we can ever have enough advocacy groups when it comes to crypto, as long as we're all going in the same direction, which we are. They only bring extra weight. So I can't measure. I think perhaps they could measure what the impact has been, but
It's hard. It is hard to actually quantify the difference. And like I said, the states, I can't remember what the number was, $200 million or something they spent on the US elections, like a big number. And obviously no one does that in Australia. It's just not a thing. But so it's hard to quantify what they've done. But it felt like there's definitely influence there. Just hard to measure.
They had 51 of the 54 senators that supported crypto got elected, didn't they? So it definitely had an influence. Can I just bring it down a tad? Just a little bit more flexibility. There's a quick fire question and answer. One word answers, if you don't mind. I'm going to give you a word and you're going to give me an answer.
okay.
Let's start right now. Okay, ready? When?
2026
Bitcoin.
million.
ASIC.
Friendlier.
Scam.
Awareness.
Collaboration.
Rules.
Very good. Amy-Rose, it's like, if I had to give a mark, it would be 10 out of 10. Amy-Rose, you're a board member of the National Anti-Scam Centre Advisory Committee. Okay, led by, that's also engaged with by ACCC. So tell us what's been done to improve the digital experience for all Australians on that front.
My gosh, well, a lot of it is around scam awareness and education for consumers. The scam number has dropped, which I don't know if you can quantify that, but it does tie into the launch of the National Anti-Scam Centre. It's a combination of different associations and the government coming together to find solutions and to help build out that scam awareness framework. So it's very, very helpful and incredibly important at this particular time. I know, and someone who's been scammed, and it's every day now. There's someone that's had something terrible happen.
Well, we all know there's those whole villages that are set up in Myanmar and Cambodia and the Philippines that just to target everybody. And bizarre enough, someone gave me some info the other day. Australians seem to be more naive and more susceptible than a lot of other countries around the world. We just seem to fall for it at a greater rate. So the whole education thing is so important.
Yeah, actually, on that point, Amy-Rose, you're on the ASIC Digital Finance Advisory Board as well. And I've got a question along those lines for you, given that you're one of the spokespersons. So yes, Australians are definitely targeted. There was an article last year in the AFR about our inability to be able to prosecute or willingness to go to prosecute offshore bad actors, as opposed to, for instance, the US, who aggressively, repatriate any bad actor and then they prosecute them. And so henceforth, the scams or the people targeting the Americans are a hell of a lot less than those targeting Australia because they know there's unlikely to be ramifications. You're in a good position to comment on this. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that a framework is forming and being implemented, and I think the remedy is coming. Australia is also quite complacent, and it's really interesting. And to your point, Drew, we are targeted, but that's also because we have an expectation, and this is the weird thing. We have an expectation that we are going to be scammed today. So if you speak to someone, you're like, yeah, probably going to be scammed. This might be a scam. That makes us complacent and easy come, easy go sort of nature. we're targeted because of our personality when it comes to scams. I'm not sure how we differ. I can't speak to how we differ to the US and their personality and culture when it comes to scams, but I can speak to Australians and why we're vulnerable, and a lot of it is because we just aren't aware or don't really feel we need to be, or we have an expectation we're going to get scammed. I wonder how much it'll be. I'll deal with it when it comes.
Is that why the banks are so aggressive? Is that part of the reason? Because we don't have our, proper defenses up. And so the banks have to be aggressive. In a lot of the cases, a maximum amount they can go into, into digital assets is 10,000 a day or a week or a month, depending on, which bank or who. I guess that makes sense that they've become so aggressive, on that front.
Yeah, and I think that's why the formation of this scams framework is really important as well, because we need information sharing, and up until this time we haven't had the information sharing flow as freely between banks and between digital currency exchanges, for example. If there was a mechanism, and this is what they're building, a mechanisms to share between different parties, red flags or alerts. This is what they're building, and this is why it's really important. We don't really have that infrastructure yet, and we need that so that we can combat some of these scams. And I believe that the US already has something similar. We just need to do it in the Australian version. We are hosting next year a scam awareness or a scams intelligence forum. It's on our DECA events page. So it's an educational summit, really, where we're going to bring in our members and different players to educate on scams and crypto.
Yeah, that's excellent. Sounds something like all the advisors and the advisory groups and wealth management groups and Big Super, they should all be, engaging on this.
Yeah, 100%.
Very good. Okay, let's move on just quickly. I can sense Mena's in the background telling me to, move along. So the digital asset platform bill currently tabled in Australia is a monumental thing for the industry, and you've been right at the forefront. What are you hoping, will get passed on this legislation, and give us a sense on the timing, because that is critical for a number of participants, not just advisory groups, but Big Super and a number of other participants out there.
Yeah, it's going to go through the usual process. It'll go to the committee. We'll have a number of industry participants, I think, come and present to the committee. So this is the time frame that I think is going to take place. And please don't hold me to it, but this is how I think it will play out. In February, or the committee will share a timeline on their work. We'll probably present in March. And I expect that the consultation period or any views will be sent in from industry March and April. And probably by June, I would say the whole process will be done and dusted.
So when's voting?
Oh, I'm not sure. It needs to go through the committee.
Okay. So do you think we'll get legislation in 2026 that's enforced legislation?
I'm not quite sure what the timeline would be after the voting. So I'm not quite sure, because I don't think that we've been advised on that.
No. I don't know.
I think 2026, yes. But yeah, I can't say, Drew.
Yeah, my guess has always been the tail end of 2026, and then there may or may not be an implementation period.
I think it'll be earlier than the tail end.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All the better.
Maybe we should put some bets down.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there's opportunity.
Yes.
For predictive
markets, Amy-Rose.
Oh, God, I hope it's before the tail end.
Okay, so Amy-Rose, what's DECA focused on in the next year? Clearly, this legislation, would be part of it. What else?
Look, we are an industry association, so a lot of what we do is industry engagement and events and bringing people together. So we've got several different events that we're building out right now in December for, pretty hard start in January. There are a few consultations on our desk that we're expecting already. There's one that came from Simon Kennedy today. I don't know if you've seen that. I might send it to you. I don't even know what the name is, but we're looking at that. We expect that there's going to be a whole bunch of consultation in 2026 across, and that's because we'll be focusing also on trade digitalization in different corners of our industry. So there's a lot of advocacy on the agenda as a priority, and growth of the industry association itself. We would like to hire a few important people to the association to help with that growth. And I think we'll spread our wings a little more.
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, a couple more lighthearted questions. Amy-Rose, there is a rumor in the market that you really wanted to meet the great man Donald Trump. And as a result, you did everything you could to go out and buy Trump coin. Can you run us through that? And can you also tell us what other meme coins do you hold in your bags?
You're burying me, Critter. I do own Trump coin for educational purposes. I wanted to understand I know it sounds like BS, but I wanted to understand how to buy it. It was difficult when it first launched to buy it in Australia because none of the exchanges had it listed, and I wanted to figure out the puzzle. And also, my question to both of you is, if because of my bags of Trump and I did get to go to a dinner with Trump, would you like to accompany me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I would.
Right.
Absolutely.
That'd be a selfie with the Donald.
Well, look, I truly believe our industry would be in a very different space if Kamala Harris and the Democrats had have got in. We'd be on a different road. I don't know what it'd look like, but it'd be different.
He's a visionary.
I wasn't going to say that.
Is there a special award that DECA could give the great president?
Probably the accelerator, but that's probably as much as we would credit. He certainly did pump up the industry at the beginning there. But all credit at the moment, I think, is to within the government, as we have here in Australia, is to our industry political champions. I think Andrew Charlton, Simon Kennedy, Andrew Bragg, and those who welcome us into their rooms from ASIC and Treasury and Austrac as well. I think they're the ones who will.
And the RBA, don't forget, the Project Acacias is I think it's a big deal.
Yeah, and that's put us on the map as well. In comparison to all other jurisdictions, when you walk into a room, we heard about what the RBA is doing, and Project Acacia tell us more about that. So it has set us apart, and we are leading in that regard. So I think we do need to give credit to little old Australia.
Very good. So Amy-Rose, I've asked about meme coins. There's a natural succession here of what will come next. What about non-fungible tokens? Have you brought any in your career?
No. And that is because I am one of the early birds, and a few early birds are in my camp, and we experienced the demise during 2017 of the ICO craze in the industry and was burned. And during that stage, when the NFT craze came out, I didn't want a part of it. I had seen it before and I just stepped back.
Yeah, although there are some genuine NFTs out there that are interesting. People that sold for over 65 million, I think, on the last sale. Who who would pay that much for, a photo on the internet? But clearly someone that, there's clearly there's, something to it. Not for me, although I still do hold a hell of a lot of NFTs.
Well, I can see a time in the future where things like the punks and things like that make a bit of a comeback because they're just interesting and they were the first of a kind. So I can see them popping up, a bit like, Andy Warhol's getting, you can buy the equivalent, the old Campbell's tomato soup. No one cared about that for about 30 or 40 years. And then all of a sudden, I'd love a Campbell's tomato soup or whatever. And, that style became a thing because it was original of its time and it represents a slice in time. And I think things like the punks are going to represent a slice of time.
I agree with that 100%.
Okay, we've had a very good session, Amy-Rose. I've got one last question for you. In 5 years' time, what does success look like for yourself?
For me?
I mean, living in Perth, of course, probably is one of them. But what else?
Well, I actually see myself living in Canberra or walking the halls in Canberra more often.
Oh, very nice. Representing an electorate?
Yes. And well, maybe that's I have a 10-year plan, which I'm probably not going to speak in detail about here, but it has a lot to do with politics and Canberra.
I'd vote for you, Amy-Rose.
Thank you. Let me just take that note. Oh, actually, it's recorded. And you, Drew?
Oh, absolutely. You just got to tell us what electorate we have to live in to be able to cast that vote.
Thank you for your support.
Very good. Well, I think we've come to the end of the session. Men has given us the wind up. Amy-Rose, thank you very much for everything that you do at DECA and for coming on the show. And we wish you all the best. And don't worry, we'll all be voting for you at some point down the track, I'm sure. Drew, you're looking good as always. And to all our listeners and the viewers out there, thank you very much for listening in. We're nothing without you.
Thanks for listening to the show. If you want to find out more about what we do at Jelly-C, the links are in the episode notes. And if you can rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app, that would be much appreciated.
This is a Piccolo podcast production.